As we are just 2 weeks away from the Clash at Bowman Gray, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really excited for this event, and I'm sure you are too. The off-season is nearly over after all. Sure, we left LA, and which was a major market, and Auto Club is still missing its turns.
Why?
However, there is a much bigger picture ahead of us.
The playoffs, baby! Woo! Let's go! Playoff racing!
In all seriousness though, the playoffs have been seen in a much better light, with Joey Logano winning his third cup title with a whopping 17.1 average finish. It lit the fan base ablaze. Other than the court case between NASCAR and Front 2311 Row Racing, it's all we've yapped about for the past 30+ months. But I'm not here to talk about all that junk. I'm here to talk about my 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoff predictions. To start, let's go ahead and get rid of the obvious ones. First off, we got Kyle Larson, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and Alex Bowman. First, I want to talk about Denny Hamlin real quick. With his performance really standing out last season, and not in a good way, the second half of the season just was not Denny Hamlin's cup of tea, honestly. It just was not the way that we usually see Denny Hamlin perform. So I originally left him out of this, but after some convincing through the offseason, I figured it might be smart to just put him in the bracket just to be safe. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't list Alex Bowman alongside his teammates and kept him till last until after I listed everyone else. Well, that's because I really want to talk about him real quick. The showman has gotten way too much hate recently, especially the past 2 years. Is he as good as his teammates? Hell no. Is he undeserving of his ride? Also hell no. There will always be someone who can perform better than Bowman. Unless Ally lets go, or NASCAR forces JGR and HMS to downsize, Bowman will always be in that ride. As for the other 7 drivers I mentioned, they're no-brainers. They all have 22 wins combined in 2024, and even though Chase Elliott has the only 1 win to his name, he still put up the best average finish of all drivers last season with an 11.7. So as far as I know, those 8 are all a lock. Now that we got the first half of my playoff predictions out of the way, let's start off with the second half. And let's get a little more creative, starting off with the second half of JGR. I think both Gibbs and Briscoe will make it. Gibbs completely leapfrogged his sophomore slump last year and was on the verge of claiming win number 1. However, at the end of last season was not the greatest, but I do think they will be able to bounce back with either a win or point their way in. While Chase Briscoe in Stewart-Haas Racing Equipment not only managed to make the playoffs, but he did so by winning the frickin' Southern 400, even making it past the first round, so I have no doubt that these two are both going to make it into the playoffs. RFK was on the verge of becoming a backmarker team back in 2021, but when Brad Keselowski jumped over there and started to rebuild that team from basically the ground up, it's looked like a powerhouse, or is going to turn into a powerhouse. Even though Buescher managed to miss the playoffs by quite literally 1/1000th of a second, he still had a chance to make it if Joey Logano had never stretched that fuel at Nashville like it was damn silly putty. But after winning at the Glen, he and Brad managed to show how just improved this team is just within the past 3 seasons of their resurgence. So I say both of those guys make it into the playoffs. As for the 60 with Priest, I'm really not sure. He's definitely a contender, don't get me wrong, but I just don't trust him yet in proven equipment. For now, I'm going to leave him out of my bracket. I know, I'm sorry, Priest fans, but I just don't yet trust him. I think there's still some time for him to get comfortable with his surroundings, so for now, he's going to be out in my bracket. Of course, there's a few guys I have not mentioned yet, and there's some really big names. For example, Trackhouse. Now, as much as I'm an avid Suarez fan, I don't see him making it into the postseason, which sucks because arguably he is on the hot seat. And if it wasn't for that Atlanta win or Justin Marks getting his hands on a 3rd charter for SVG, Daniel wouldn't be so lucky. As for his teammates, I can see the Watermelon Man redeeming himself and making it in on a win, as well as the Kiwi, especially with all the road courses. SVG won't be here to play around. He's here with the big dogs full time now, and trust me, even if he's a first round exit, he will still be a threat on all of these road courses. Before we get to the last two guys to complete my predictions, we need to talk about the lads I don't see making it. Starting with Bubba Wallace. Now call me a hater, but I don't think he's gonna be consistent this season. With an all-new crew chief, as well as his team's certainty looking to be ripped away at season's end, I don't see him making it. Now why am I not saying this about Reddick? To say that, I just gotta say look at the final point standings from last year and tell me. Other drivers that I see missing the playoffs next season is Michael McDowell, Zane Smith, Josh Berry, Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, Riley Herbst, AJ Allmendinger, Cole Custer, etc, etc. But you may be asking, where's Sliced Bread? Where's Alcohol and Nicotine Man? I'll explain their absences now, starting with your defending champ. At the start of the video, I painfully reminded you of Joey Logano winning the title in 2024, with an average finish of 17th. That's not a number to dismiss. That's a scary low number for someone that we call a 3-time champion. Hell, his route into the playoffs to begin with was controversial. To guarantee Joey a spot in the playoffs just isn't realistic anymore. As for Bushy, last year was the lowest of lows. Not only was it his first ever winless season in nearly 2 decades, but he missed the playoffs to pour salt on all of the wounds of Kyle Busch fans. So unfortunately, I can't put him or Logano in my 16 to make it. Now, one guy that I never mentioned in that last segment was Todd Gilliland, and boy will he be one to watch. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be coming out here fresh on the scene, hitting the ground running, winning like 4 races in the season, but I'm just saying, he's definitely going to be a threat for the playoffs this season, especially a win at the super speedways. And the fact that he has the most experience at front row between Gragson and Smith is a huge advantage for FRM. He'll be able to lead the team to a possible playoff berth, but I'll go out and guarantee it. Not to mention the chemistry between these three off track, so yeah, even though I don't think Gragson or Smith will make it, I am sure as hell Todd will be the one to get it done. Front row isn't the back marker that we've labeled them all those years ago. We gotta remember that they have top tier Ford support now. So yeah, they are real threats for these playoffs next season. Finally, we get to the last guy going to Darlington with a yellow banner. Other than barely touching on McDowell and Haley, I haven't talked about Spire all video, which is where I complete all of these predictions. I think Carson Hocevar will be the 16th entry in the playoffs next season. Let's not lie to ourselves. Even though it's like Carson has rocks in his brain sometimes out there, he still is able to contend with the likes of Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. Just go rewatch the race at Homestead last year and watch the 77 run. Unless Carson gets struck by a sophomore slump, which is very likely unfortunately, you bet your bumper he'll be able to be alongside the best names in the field. And there you have it, my 16 playoff drivers that I think will be fighting for a championship in 2025. I'll admit, not all of these are going to be solid and concrete. Matter of fact, all of you may disagree with my picks here today. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree, and others might just want a bounty for my head. But hopefully I get to survive the rest of the off-season and get to see the start of this season. I hope you guys enjoyed this video here today, and I'll see you all in the next one.